Hello and welcome to Loving Me, Myself, and Life with me, Jody Misiak. And it will be officially a year since I've started this podcast come March 8th, International Women's Day. And wow, what a year it's been, and it's been incredible. So I want to take a moment here and just thank you. Thank you for listening. If you've been following me from the get-go, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And maybe you're new. This is maybe your first episode. Well, thank you. And I encourage you to listen to past episodes because I feel like it's, chocked full with some awesomeness. So let your heart, pick an episode and just go from there. But yeah, what a year. So last year, as this podcast began, I had no idea the year we had in store. Wow. I recorded all the episodes, I think I had 4 episodes beforehand. So they were definitely before, schools closed down. The only thing I knew for sure come March was that we were looking to move. We were in the middle of getting our house painted, mostly white, to sell it. We were getting it all ready. And the painters were almost done. It would have been like a week after. Maybe it was around this time, actually. Anyways, we got the news that schools were closing. So just like as the painters were finishing, or maybe we had a week before the painter. I think the painters finished a week before we got the news. But what a year, ups and downs and sideways and, everything. And I know I share about a lot of it on this podcast. Me loving myself through all the crazy, loving my life and life in general throughout the crazy, and, just taking care of me through the process. And this year, as crazy as it may have been, has taught me a lot. It has taught me how strong I am, how we can, as a world, overcome things. And if we come together through love, we can move through anything. And it's just really incredible. Is there downsides and crazy sides and everything in between? Oh, yeah. But I'm an optimistic person. I feel like I have been for quite some time. So I choose to focus on love, choose to focus on the good. Now, yes, I have bad days where I feel like, can anything get any worse kind of deal. But most of the time I stay up very optimistic because I choose peace. I choose love. I choose possibilities over fear, hate, frustration, stress. Yes, did I have a stressful year? Oh yeah. I had to homeschool out of the blue. And it didn't, it was supposed to be a week, and then it turned into months, all the way to the end of school year, on top of everything else. So yes, it has been challenging, but within challenges, we get to grow, we get to experience. If life wasn't messy, if life wasn't challenging, it would be a heck of a lot of boring, and I feel like we would all just not know what to do with ourselves. If we didn't have anything to complain about or to try and change, we would, I feel like we just watch TV all the time, or, whatever it might be. I'm not saying we need to find challenges, but when we are faced with them, we can either face them with fear, hate, frustration, stress, or we can face them with love, with possibility, with courage, and look at them as what can I learn from this? Or why is this showing up in my life? And, if you've been listening to my podcast, you'll know I dealt with a lot of stress through our move. Also with everything going on with the kids home. We never planned on our move having the kids home. And it was definitely a hard 2 months when we had no idea if we were moving, when we'd be able to sell our house. All those things were up in the air. That not knowing can really be frustrating. And I know that firsthand. It's you have a plan and you're chugging along on that plan. And it's so close. I even had a trip planned to come to British Columbia to look at homes. It was all just all in line. Our house was supposed to go on the market. And then in one moment, obviously in my moment, it was only one moment, but there was a lot of events, let's face it, leading up to that one moment. I just didn't know about it because I was too busy getting our house staged for selling it. So anyways, in that one moment for me, everything changed. I had no idea when things were going to get back on track. And that can feel so scary, so stressful, and so like I just wanted to pull my hair out. Like I was so not impressed with the situation. If I stayed there though, I wouldn't have been able to live my life in a loving way. So I had to take a step back, refocus. We can't control everything in our lives. And I feel like that's another episode I've done is, we can't control everything. If it isn't an episode yet, I have to look. It should be. Anyways, we don't have, actually, I feel like it is an episode. If it's not aired yet, if it's not published, it will be soon because I've definitely recorded one on change. We can't control everything in our lives, but we can control how we react to things. And I don't want to touch too much on this because, like I've said before, I am a person that this is a place where you can escape. But I have seen it so much in my life where people have come to hate other people because of situations. It's like, when is hate okay? It's not. It's about love. And I have this saying in my office. It's like, what would love do? What would love do? So in anything going on in the world, anything, what would love do? Because let's face it, there's enough hate out in this world. We don't need to be one of those. We can choose love. And even if it's just a little one, smiling at somebody from a distance, maybe that's hard to do right now. But just being loving or sending loving thoughts to somebody, sending a text message to somebody saying, hey, I'm thinking of you. Any of those things. My dad loves postcards. So I'm planning on sending him a postcard, just because I can't be nearby right now. So just little things to send people love. Either letting them know, verbally or just, sending a loving thought to somebody. It can even be sending out somebody that you're not a big fan of. And that is so rewarding because we can be frustrated at other people's thoughts or words that they've said. And then that's only hurting you. We feel that in our bodies. And I'm not saying you ever forgive that person for saying those horrible, hurtful, whatever things. It's just putting love in your heart because we don't need to be edgy and hurty because of somebody else. And it is incredible when we choose love. So for instance, this was over a year ago. I was walking to pick up my daughter from school, and this was back in Ontario. And I was just having these judgmental thoughts. We all have them, or a lot of us do. Shouldn't say all, can't speak for everybody, but I know a lot of us do. And that's okay. We're human. We have our brain plays tricks on us and all that. But we can be judgmental. And I was having these thoughts. And I was like, whoa, hit the pause button. What is going on in my head? Now, this wasn't me beating up my thoughts but I acknowledged them. And to me, that's super important. Awareness of anything, of any habits you do, any thoughts you're having is super, super important because you can't change something you're not aware of. So that's the first step in anything is awareness. So I was aware of my thoughts. And I took a second there. I was like, what would love do? I was like, love wouldn't be judging other people, wouldn't be putting people down in my head. So I was like, let's look through love. So I put my little love sunglasses on kind of thing, metaphorically speaking, obviously. And I looked through life with love instead of judgment. And wow, what a day I had picking up my daughter. It was beautiful, downright beautiful. Everything just worked out. It clicked, just a happy moment or not even moment, a beautiful afternoon. Things just flowed better with love. When love is present, fear is not there, hate is not there, frustration, stress, they're not the forefront anymore. Love is. Love is so much more powerful and stronger than anything else out there. Now, I'm not saying, to, go about your day and just let things, knock you down and just be like, oh, I'm going to love my, like, I'm not saying you're always going to feel loving. But when you choose love over everything else, just a little bit more than all those other things, you're going to start to see things change. And it is a very beautiful thing. Because here's an instance where I wasn't very loving and it didn't work out very well for me. Because I'm going to be like, more so than ever before, like authenticness to me is like my very, it's very important to me right now. It is so, so important to me because we are all experiencing wackiness going on, whatever that might be for you right now. We are all experiencing different things. Like obviously we're experiencing similar things, but we all have different lives and we're not experiencing it exactly the same. It's with airplanes even, there's first class or like business class and economy. We're all in that same flight, but everybody's experience or different people's experiences are different. And that's okay. Like we all are in this, but experiencing on way different levels. Like there's more than a few classes going on here. There is multiple things going on. So, but here is me being authentic, and I'm sharing you somewhere where I have not been as graceful or loving. And because I think it's really important that I share openly and honestly about as much as I can or whatever I think people might be able to take from. So I was sharing how a year ago we were just getting our house ready. I think it was literally like I'd have to look at a calendar or exactly when International Women's Day. I know it fell on a Sunday. But anyways, the painters were just about done. We did not have a great experience with our painters. There was a painter, like mostly painting, and then a maintenance person fixing up little odds and ends. And instead of, getting into love and realizing they're human beings, like what would love do? I got frustrated and I let my frustrations run the show. I didn't address them in a loving way. And in fact, I was getting a headache from the paint. And I asked my husband to kind of deal with the painters. Like they were just way too much for me. But if I would have remembered my phrase, what would love do? It might have changed. Like I was underwear. Luckily, I think the kids were still at school. Yes, because nothing closed yet. So that my daughter was at school and my son was at daycare most days. So, but they would come early and then they would leave. Like I was just trying to work like in a bedroom kind of thing out of the way. And instead of choosing love, I chose frustrations, blame. I was blaming them for things, for my headaches. And then it just spiraled. I got really sick. I felt horrible. I actually had to stop working for a day or two. I remember just sleeping and having my husband bring soup. Like they took over our kitchen to fix things, and it was our living room and dining room. And we thought that they would start painting in one room and work around. So we're like, okay, I can just move around. But they took over everything. Luckily, we weren't painting the bedrooms, but they took over everything on the main floor. And it was exhausting. But again, I was focusing on all the negative things instead of focusing on love. And I just remember thinking at the end, like I think finally near the end, I was like, okay, like Jody, get your stuff together, man. Like in a loving way, but I was not feeling very loving. And I was trying my best to lean in gratitude, because when there's gratitude, then you can find more things to be grateful for. And it took me a while. And I feel like near the end, like things were finally flowing a little bit better. But when I wasn't thinking about loving thoughts and like optimism and all that fun stuff, like things were not flowing very well. They wrecked, I shouldn't say wrecked, but they painted over something that was unpaintable. where we had to go back late. And they didn't fix it at the end. We had to fix it ourselves. And it was just like all this craziness. So I'm not going to focus on all the crazy that went on, but because I pushed back with negativity and frustration, I got more of that. But if I would have lovingly went through the situation, spoke in a loving way to them about my concerns, about things that, we had to switch up, instead of just being frustrated and like lock myself in a room and be like, hey, husband, like deal with this kind of thing. I can't take these people. If I would have addressed the situation differently, I am almost 100% certain things would have flowed better. I wouldn't have felt sick because we hold so many emotions in our bodies. So in that, like I made myself sick from frustration and stress and just like, God, like it was to me a horrible thing. And then the funny thing is like, that was only the tip of the iceberg for things. But that moment there at least taught me that when something doesn't go as planned, you got to switch your perspective. You got to look at the problem differently. And then in fact, if you focus on the problem, then you see more problems pop up. So when you focus on the solution, then you can find a way to fix things. And when you are in a place of love and you're grounded in who you are and just coming from a loving place, even if things are crazy, even if things are like, wow, if you're grounded there in love, then you can come at problems and work through problems with loving solutions. So that is one where love did not win out in my world. So if you're listening and you're like, oh my goodness, I always, go on things with frustration and things like that. No, you're not alone. You are not alone in this thing at all. I have been there. And in those moments, like if we've had those, what we do with those moments is we learn from them. So we look back and ooh, I could have handled that situation a little differently. That is when we get to learn. We might not have learned in that actual moment, but we can learn from that moment after, and we can do different later. Not every moment's going to be perfect. And in fact, in our house, we don't say anything's perfect. Nothing is perfect. And that's okay. We go progress over perfection, and anything, in the right direction is awesome. So if you feel like, oh man, like there's so many times I could have changed, don't worry about it. It's just about looking at them and be like, okay, what can I learn from this situation? Because in all honesty, now looking back, that was just the beginning of a very, very intense, stressful, crazy year. And I learned a lot in that moment that got to shift me into a better mindset for what was coming down the pipe, because it was pretty hefty. And, it led me to where I am today. So I can be grateful for the stressful moments in my life that led me here today. There's still a couple I need to work through, in all honesty, if I'm going to be fully honest here. But I'm working on them and I'm aware of them. And I try to send them love when they pop up instead of frustrations. But there's a couple little things that I'm like still deep down. I'm like, okay, I need to work through that. And it's just being aware and taking those steps towards moving through them and sending love. So I hope that helps. And I'm sending you so much love. And yeah, just here's some more love in your life. Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.